Oh, sorry.
Hey, Tom is always grooving to our intro music. So, guys, we are not doing a rewatch today. We are talking about all the Star Wars news that has come out about the extended universe. And we have 3 guests for you guys.
I'm super excited.
I am excited too. We are going to start with Rob, who was just here with us.
I know. I couldn't resist, though.
Episodes ago? Yes, no.
I love this man. Spider-Man. Where is he? Where is he? Ah, there he is. He's looking all. Oh shit! Get the Qui-Gon pose. Oh, look at old gangster with the Qui-Gon pose. I thought you were giving me like a little sneaky, like you were a little like in the shadows there. I thought maybe you were like a dark side user for a second.
Yeah, I was gonna say there was a Sith vibe.
Might be a little dark Jedi in there, you know. I am no Jedi. You know. I do believe a little bit of a Revenite. Oh, is my title there?
A little bit of a Revenite. Oh shit!
Make it happen.
All right, but not only do we have Rob, we also have Gerald Coleman, who I don't think has been on any of our rewatches, has he?
No, but we've had him plenty of times on what you call interviews and such.
Oh yes, yeah.
Poet, author.
Gerald, yes, but he's never sat with us while we go off on our tangents while a show is playing in the background.
I can live with it. I can live with it.
As little as I have to deal with Tom as possible, please. Thank you.
That was a Deep Space Nine deep cut.
Oh shit! I didn't even pick up on that. Wow.
I can live with it.
That means I got to rewatch Deep Space Nine too. Shit.
Well, we already have a new show for our next set of rewatches.
That's true. Last of Us. We are going to start not next week, but after JordanCon. We're going to do it after JordanCon.
Yeah, it's going to have to be because there's no way I can do anything else. Speaking of JordanCon, our last guest today is Jimmy from JordanCon. We're just going to call him JordanCon Jimmy.
JordanCon Jimmy.
JordanCon Jimmy.
Oh my God, there he is. It was like a perfect segue. It's almost like we planned it like that, but we didn't. We did
Absolutely did not. Absolutely did not.
That would require forethought and planning.
There's a guy with a spreadsheet.
Hey, listen, there's a lot to talk about at Star Wars Celebration. So I went through and I was like, all right, I got to get all the information for the shows and the movies. There's a lot there.
Yeah. Also, I think this is probably Tom's first spreadsheet. So.
It is. Well, it's the first one for the rewatches because I say I'm the worst every week, and Ebony tries to refute that, and I absolutely am the worst.
He is not the worst. It's just we're very casual around here. We just deal with
All right. That's the very professional way of saying.
Yes.
Rob, tell Whitney we are waving at her. I see her gaming.
Whitney there waving at you. This you gaming. She's wearing her Vera Bradley Star Wars robe that she got for Christmas this past Christmas.
Very nice.
Really good friends and family that we have. Yeah.
Where is she? Is she in Ghost? Is she in God of War? What's she doing?
She's playing Destiny 2 right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got my whatchamacall here. Let me pin myself up here.
Yeah, what do you got, Tom?
I just got a new birthday present. It was this weekend, so it's Vader. It's very Robot Chicken, but I just love the hat rack with the cape and the lightsaber on it. It's my favorite. That's my favorite part of that.
Very nice. Very nice.
Jimmy, and I want to give I know I said it on Facebook, but I got to say it to your face, Jimmy. Jimmy and I are birthday buddies. We share a birthday, and it was his birthday too this week.
Jimmy.
Yes.
Yay.
Happy birthday, fellas.
That's right.
Thank you.
I'm starting to. I don't have as much gray hair as you, but it's my beard is. I got a lot of straggly grays growing in there.
They'll start showing up once you start naming them. It's fine.
If it makes you guys feel better, the minute I told Brian I was pregnant when he was 18, gray hairs just started popping up. Just like that.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
All right. So.
All right. You got the spreadsheet, Tom. What are we doing?
Celebration. Star Wars Celebration. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Nerdy Nightly. They had a panel at Celebration. I didn't see it pop up on their YouTube yet. It might be up. They might have put it up in the today sometime. They sat on a panel about one of the. Did you read the Star Wars book, right? That they just read. Was it you that said that or Beth? No, Beth said it. There's a new Star Wars book that just came out, of which I forgot the name because, like I said, I'm the worst. That they sat on a panel for. It's going to be fantastic. So just go to the Nerdy Nightly YouTube channel, like, obviously after we're done with Star Wars, and check for their
right.
Talk all about that new book. And they were actually on the panels at Celebration, so that's pretty awesome.
Sweet.
Really cool.
That is pretty awesome.
But I want to talk mainly about this right here.
Yes.
So much stuff.
There's so much here. I'm so excited. There's a lot in this image that gets me super excited. And the main thing is that second to last one on the left, which is the Old Republic.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Now I know Jimmy is pretty amped about that, at the possibility of possibly seeing Revan. So I guess I want to start out with that. What do we think about Darth Revan and yes, Rapunzel? We said spreadsheets.
Yes.
Ebony likes the spreadsheet. She's just shaming
I love
me.
a good spread.
She's
No.
shaming me.
I am proud
Yeah.
that you got a spreadsheet going. I am excited.
Like I said, shaming me.
No, I am so proud.
So what do you guys think about the possibility? Chat, let me know what you guys think. But also I want to go through all y'all. What do you think about the possibility of seeing Darth Revan or, Jedi Master Revan, or none of the above, Gray Revan maybe, on screen? What are we going to see? Are we going to see any of the iterations, all of, what do you think?
Yeah.
I guess Rob first.
Should have happened a long time ago.
Yeah.
Should have happened a long time ago. To any alliteration of any of it, I'll take any of it. I'll take Dark. I'll take Jedi Master. I'll take Gray. I'll take Sith. I'll take Return. I'll take whatever. Just give me a good actor, give me who has a good voice and who has a bit of gravity to them, and give me him using that lightsaber like he's supposed to.
Yeah.
Like both of those lightsabers. And don't play games. I want a red and a purple one. Don't play games. Let's not do this. We know what they look like. We know what that mask looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Give us that. You can change a little bit for camera. I get it. Just give us that. Speaking
of that, before I go to Jimmy and Gerald on that, I have a clip that I put together that I found of Darth of a older version that we almost had of Darth Revan in Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And I put together a few pieces of an interview that Dave Filoni did and an actual unfinished piece from Clone Wars that they did, and I want to throw that up, and then we can incorporate that into the chat. So here we go.
One of the very interesting things in the final episode of Mortis that I know fans would have found very interesting was that George was looking for two ancient Sith Lords that could, bring some meaning that would be kind of like an uber evil influence guiding the sun. And this was Darth Bane and Darth Revan, both of who existed in the EU.
I have done as you've asked.
Why do you weep like a child?
You told me that I would be free. You told me that all would be right.
And it is.
Then why do I feel such pain?
Because you have not embraced your resentment.
Who are you? You must answer me this time.
We are those who have come before. Those who were betrayed. Those who hate. We are the wielders of the dark side.
What do you want from me?
We stand before you, disciples of the dark side, intent on its supremacy. It has been foreseen that one lives who will control the universe.
Where?
It is unknown, but know this. The Chosen One is the key. He who controls Skywalker will control everything. We tell you this to guarantee your success.
But eventually I got a call from George. And he said, I've been really thinking about this, and we should take that scene out with the Sith Lords. It was absolutely the right thing to do, because they just can't exist in that form. They can't exist in that way. It was really George that said, no, this, I thought this would be good, but I wanted to do this, but it doesn't jive with my bigger explanation of the Force.
So that was, I think, the most poignant part of that. Obviously, so for those who haven't seen Clone Wars, and real quick, I just want to give another, I put it in the description of the video, but full spoilers for pretty much everything Star Wars that's released up to this point. I mean, maybe we won't talk too much about Mandalorian Season 3, only because, it came out like 5 days ago. But like, Clone Wars, Rebels, whatever. They're talking about, for those who haven't seen Clone Wars, they're talking about, there's like a 3-episode arc. I believe it's called like Altar of Mortis, and then something else, which is the name of the planet that they're on. It's like a super force sensitive like location where there's a father, a daughter, and a son, and the daughter is the like embodiment of the light side of the Force. The son is the embodiment of the dark side of the Force. The son is the one that we saw in the beginning of that video, very unfinished version of him. It looked like almost like a 1998 like Flash player version.
Reboot.
Yeah, for real. Like I was like, is like Strong Bad gonna come out with the emails? So he at some point trying to confer with like some powerful dark side users, Darth Bane, Darth Revan, and that's where that comes from. But the real poignant thing that I liked was how Dave Filoni said, "I don't want these two to exist in this way." Mm-hmm. So I think that might be saying that we could get them in a different way. But yeah, so what do y'all think? I guess Jimmy now.
It just depends on how you want to tell the story of Revan, from him being a Jedi in the Mandalorian Wars to go against the Council to fight the Mandalorians, to win the mask, to put the mask on, how he fell to the dark side by following the star maps in the game, and then redeeming himself, and then leaving for the unknown regions. If you follow it in the old books, he kept feeling something was coming, something was still coming, that he went off and then you go to the Old Republic game where he was captured by the Emperor and lived for years.
Twisted and stuff, yeah. With his Padawan Malik, who was also a really cool set.
But if they did an Old Republic, I would love to see a 3 movie where you go through those phases of being the light, going to the dark, and then redemption.
That would be awesome, man. That would be pretty cool. So speaking of the star maps, there's like a kind of like a little bit of an homage, or maybe it might be an Easter egg. I'm not sure. In the Ahsoka, I grabbed the clip where you could see it the best, so it's a little dark, but you can kind of see in the background of this clip from the Ahsoka logo, kind of looks like the star maps that you see for the Starforge in the Knights of the Old Republic game. But it's interesting.
Actually, what that reminds me of is, do you remember the episode of Rebels when they went into that little forced portal thing?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. So that's I was going to say, that's when they come back, the Mortis, the father and the son, and they have there's the mural.
Yeah, because Ezra saved Ahsoka. There is a assumption that Ahsoka might have died at the hands of Darth Vader, but she was saved by Ezra.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, spoilers if you didn't watch Rebels.
No, yeah, like I said, it's full spoilers for Rebels, so just sorry.
We're a little late on that.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
You can edit this, right, Tom?
Yeah, sure. It's not live or anything.
Yeah. We do it all the time.
Yeah, I got the hold on. I got the image of the mural from that episode. If it ever finishes going. There it is. Okay. That's the so there's the son. We recognize him from that video we just watched, and the daughter there and the father in the middle. And that is the mural that they are exploring in that episode. And Ezra ends up going into that like alternate dimension, and then and there's like weird like alternate timelines that he experiences. It's a really interesting thing, and I remember at the time when I watched it, when it was like coming out live, it felt a little disjointed. But they did a better job with they're doing a better job now with kind of trying to make it a cohesive story, and I'm really excited to see how they do that in the Ahsoka show.
Yeah.
So, what about you, Gerald? Did you ever play like Knights of the Old Republic and stuff like that? Do you how familiar are you with Darth Revan? Are you excited to see him?
Okay, two things. Well, I'll preface it by answering your question.
Sure.
I didn't play the games, but I like watching the cutscenes that they piece together.
Good.
They pieced together. This was before Star Wars was releasing animation stuff.
Yeah.
But people would go on YouTube and piece all of the cutscenes together like it was a little movie. So I enjoyed looking at that stuff. So I'll say two things here. The first is I prefer the more nebulous Force of the original trilogy. When we didn't know exactly what the Force was, we just kind of could glean little bits and pieces from what took place in the films, and you hear a little bit of the Force, this and this, but there was no like real kind of concrete explanation of it. And I think one of the failures of the prequels is an attempt to very cut and dry, like, okay, this is what the Force is, this is how it, and this becomes this, and I think that was a mistake. I think that the more kind of murky, cloudy, nebulous it was, and if they continued in that way, and then to see kind of the characteristics of the Force played out in the Force users, right? Because now we've parsed it to the point where there are people who are Force sensitive, but they're not Force users, right. And they're and so I'm not a fan of that kind of over explanation of what the Force is. I think it worked best when we were still trying to kind of guessing at, okay, what is Obi-Wan? You back when it was the original kind of 4, 5, and 6, and we were like, what the hell is Obi-Wan talking about? The Force is in us. What does that mean? Like,
yeah.
I think that was much more of and I'm saying this from the perspective of a storyteller. I think that's for me that was much better than this kind of really kind of parsed and explained out.
So to put it into like
Force,
like literature, like literary terms for like a fantasy series, say you preferred it when it was like a softer magic system than like a harder magic system, like when it was less defined and more kind of like ethereal. Oh, I think Gerald is frozen. I mean, it's a good pose.
It is.
It looks good. All right, so we'll go back to Gerald for a second. I think, but I think that might be kind of what he meant, though. Like a more in y'all. There he is. He back?
He's coming.
He's coming back.
He's coming back.
We had a Coleman situation here.
Yeah, but Jimmy, maybe, or you could tell me, or Rob, you're writing. Like that's the correct term, right? Like a softer magic system would be
I'm going to put a counterpoint to Gerald's. Is in 4, 5, and 6, there was no Force users. No one knew what the Force was like. It's been years since anybody saw a Force user, unless you saw Darth Vader. Whereas the prequel, you had a society of Force users that and that they're training new Force users and everything else. So
okay, I guess a Force user got mad at me for saying that.
See what you did. But I do agree with Gerald that it was mystical. We don't know what the Force really was, and we were learning what the Force was going through Luke's story arc, his hero's journey. We learned it, and then the thing about the prequel was you had so many Force users, and it was diluted, and like, oh yeah, everybody uses Force powers, and now they're midichlorian counts, and so you made it into science.
Yes.
And
I kind of hope we don't dive too much into that.
yeah. I just got one thing to say about midichlorian counts is that I guess I understand from a toy making perspective what they were trying to go with there, but I kind of agree with Gerald a little bit when it comes to they took the magic out of it and added science more to it, and so it kind of took the. But I understood at the same time because, like Jimmy said, we had a whole bunch of people that were sensitive, and there had to be an explanation to it, right?
Well, let me put it this way. I think, and I'll say this as a writer again, that the idea of the midichlorian count and all of that, that's backstory that you keep off the page.
Right.
You might know that and know that that's how that functions, but you never tell that to the reader. That you keep in your notes and use to help you build the story, but you never import that into the story. You keep it mysterious, right?
Yes. So you follow your own rules, but you don't like maybe put those rules on the page.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So
second thing I was going to say before some force user somewhere got mad at me, booted me out of the chat.
It was HK47. He saw this meat bag talking about the force. He was like,
so the second thing is, I think the other kind of challenge that the Star Wars universe has is that its villains are too one-dimensional. Right? I want a villain that is multi-dimensional. I want a villain that is so well fleshed out that there are times where I'm tempted to root for the villain.
Right.
And then maybe they do something to remind me, okay, well, I can't really root for this cat because of X, Y, Z. But I want them to be. I want them
enter Darth Revan.
I want them to be fully fleshed out, and I don't think Lucas. I think Filoni and
Favreau.
And Favreau probably have the capacity to do that. I don't think Lucas had that in his repertoire, right?
God, I can go hours about complaining about that.
Yeah, man.
So I think that, I'll give you an example. There's a TV show, and some of you've heard me say this before. There's a TV show called The Blacklist.
Yeah.
On NBC, right?
They filmed that in my hometown in New York.
Sweet.
Okay. I stopped watching it because of something that they did to one of the main characters, which I won't spoil for anybody who wants to watch it. But from the first several seasons, Raymond Reddington was such a great character because he was so complex, right? One moment he's helping the good guys, and the other moment he's reminding you he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
And he's so well thought out and so well fleshed out that he's on the one hand you think, okay, he's the protagonist of the show. Then the next moment you're like, no, he's the show. And you have to keep going. They make you go back and forth with him, right? And I think if you're going to write a great villain, and I think that's one of the. I think that was a missed opportunity in the prequels because they had an opportunity to show us Vader as a great, not just one of the scariest villains of all time, but like one of the greatest villains of all time by making him really complex. But they boiled it down to he's a whiny kid who lost his mom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He could have been so much more complex than that. And he could have been written in such a way that he could have been like the greatest villain in cinematic history, right? If they had made him just a little bit more multidimensional in terms of what it was that kind of moved him to the dark side of the Force.
Beth definitely agrees with you, and so do I.
Yes.
I think they did a great job with that in Clone Wars.
Let me real quick, Tom. Let me say this real quickly, since I'm dunking on the prequels. I must say this for the record, that the prequels have the best lightsaber duel,
Yeah, but
hands down, period.
Some of the best music too.
No argument. Like, those are the greatest lights. If there's any reason to watch the prequel,
lightsaber duels.
to grit your teeth and knuckle through it, it is to watch like the greatest lightsaber battles that have ever been put on film.
The trauma of Jar Jar Binks is worth it.
Leave Jar Jar alone. So
you leave that man alone.
So here's the thing. This is my theory about the prequels. George Lucas got real excited because he now had the ability to do all the stuff he couldn't do in the first three, and said, "Script be damned. I don't care what they say. Do all these effects."
Yep.
And that's exactly what happened. It's like, I'm going to do all the effects. I don't care what he says.
Yeah. But and I agree completely. I think that was undergirded by, I think, fundamentally Lucas's inability to write
he's
great stories.
I think
he's good. I think he's good saying, look, here's the idea.
Yes.
Here's the arc that I want.
But
and then giving it to
somebody who can do it.
Or a Favreau or whoever else.
He's an idea guy.
Right.
Yes.
He's definitely an idea guy because Indiana Jones, he gave it to Spielberg to do it, and we saw what happened.
And look at it.
He's a head coach.
He's a head coach.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've always wondered what Star Wars would be like under his vision, because to my understanding, the Star Wars, the episode 4 that we loved was due to editing by his wife at the time.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So what did she have to change to make it good?
The editor, I can't remember her name, but she is the unsung hero of not only Lucas's stuff, but also Spielberg, some of Spielberg's stuff. Like, she was the one who like took the male kind of.
It's right because I said so.
Mess,
yeah.
Right?
And she cleaned it up because that's what we do.
He got in the editing room and like made a coherent story out of it. And let me quickly say this: what I meant by I was driving at in terms of a multifaceted villain, because there was this idea, and I can't even remember where I heard it from, but there was this idea floating around that the reason back in the day that that I think would have helped understand Palpatine, would have made him flesh him out a little bit more, is that there was this idea out there, and I don't know if it was something that
Speaking of Palpatine, real quick, hold on.
I didn't know if this was actually something that is in the Star Wars canon somewhere on a note somewhere, or if this was fan stuff, but there was this idea floated. Again, this is one of those things that was years and years and years ago, that the reason Palpatine was so focused on taking control of the Republic and making it an empire and putting it under his fist was because there was a threat from outside the galaxy.
Yes.
He knew
he
about.
He knew
that. Was the way, and he felt that the only way to be ready for that was to have the ability to marshal the entire galaxy's forces in order to face it.
Yeah, that was I know I'm going to pronounce this wrong, but it's
maybe it was in one of the novels. It
was one of the novels. They're called the Yahuza Vong or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, the Vong. They basically they're like they come from outside of the galaxy, so they actually enter from outside of interstellar space. I read this series a while ago. They their big thing is all of their armor, weapons, spaceships, everything is alive.
Yeah.
They call them coral skippers. They all look like ocean anemones and stuff like that. And their big thing is they can infest a planet with like an animal and turn that planet into essentially like a shipyard to pump out armor and weapons and spaceships for them to fight. And that's why he made the Death Star, to be able to destroy planets, because
Right. See, now think if they had written that motivation into the story, we would have understood Palpatine better, and that would have made him a more multi-dimensional character who actually had even though he was doing horrific things, okay, he had this justification for
A greater good.
why he was doing it, right? That didn't just make him this maniacal, one degree villain who's just the bad guy.
Yeah.
Right. So the key. Go ahead, Tom.
No, you're good. You're good.
No, I was going to say the key to any great villain is they have to have a somewhat logical motivation, right? Yep. Like there has to be something driving them that is pushing them so hard that they're like, I mean, this it'll work. I mean, look at Thanos. Like we all understood what the problem, but we didn't like that solution.
Right. Killmonger.
So I was listening. Same thing with Killmonger. Like he wasn't wrong.
That was the name of the book series, by the way. Heir to the Empire is the name of the
series. Chills. Every time I hear Heir to the Empire, I get chills. Every time.
I'll give you a prime example. Probably one of the last times I heard a villain's speech, and I was like, damn, he's right. Was what's the name of it? The Disney movie with George Clooney and the young blonde girl. It's got Hugh Laurie. Hugh Laurie plays the villain.
Oh, it's Tomorrowland.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, that movie based on Tomorrow World. Yeah.
Tomorrow World or Tomorrowland or
Tomorrowland. Yeah.
Tomorrowland. When Hugh Laurie's character, who's the villain, spoilers, finally gives his villain speech for why he's doing what he's doing. You listen to him and you go, damn. I mean. Yeah. Right. I can't argue with that. That made him a much more believable, complicated villain, right? So that you get to the place where you're like, as Ebony was saying, I can understand your motivation. I just don't like the way you're going about solving the problem. Right.
And I also think it is very hard, for our human brains to accept anybody as evil just for the fun of being evil. Right. That. It is very hard to, because deep down inside, we want to think we're all good people, right? So if we do something evil, there must have been a reason. There must have been a reason that pushed us that way. So I think when you do, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I always think of it this way, Ebony. I think that, and this is somebody else's idea, and I can't remember who, but I always think that the greatest villain thinks he's the hero of the story.
Every single time. Every single time. They are justified in what they're doing. Nobody understands it. Nobody sees it the way they
know
see
best.
They're the genius.
They know best.
But if we had been given, if that had been written into the Star Wars story about Palpatine, right?
Yeah.
That would have given him that would have put some more tension and given him a different kind of multifaceted layer. Instead of being the kind of mustache
crazy old man. He was just a crazy old man. He was a crazy old man that didn't have anything else to do.
It's shit. He has a reason. He has a justifiable reason for
it. Exactly. And I honestly
stuff that he's doing. And if you think about it, if you knew that was this great evil coming, and you knew that the only way for the United States to face it was to present a united front. And you looked out on the United States right now.
Ain't no way.
And you had the power.
We are going to get
conquer. If you had the power to conquer the country and force it to come into line to face this threat, what would you do? Right?
We'll be doing some evil shit.
Right. That makes Palpatine a much more complicated character than just. Oh, here's this crazy evil old dude who's in the corner twirling mustache and wants to draw people to the dark side of the force.
Honestly, we really why? Why would you do that, sir? Why are you doing this?
It's a product. It's a product of its time. I say this a lot in panels. You could say it about almost anything from I want to say. Starting in the early 2000s really is when they started to care more about character motivation and backstory and stuff like that in everything, books, movies. I mean, books have been doing it for a much longer time, but the level of fan or the from a fan's perspective, the desire for more story and story to have a more cohesive, line of reasoning for things and stuff like that has grown in the last 25 years.
Okay.
Comics.
And this is, I was going to say it's comics.
Comics have been doing it
people that
forever.
were
Comics too. Yeah.
The people reading the comics were getting older and making the stuff.
Counterpoint, Khan. Khan was a great villain. Khan,
right.
Yes.
He had the backstory. He had the multi-level motivation.
Well, Star Trek has been doing the right thing for years. Like, Star Trek has been ahead of its time in almost every aspect.
I can agree with you in certain places, but I think there have been great villains in the past because people
100%. No. Yeah.
Villains in that way, right?
Oh, 100%. No, it's more just like the common thing. Like the common thing was
mainstream. Yeah. Now it's more mainstream.
Like if you look at the original Superman movies, there was no like thought put into even just Superman himself and some of the nonsense.
Hold on.
Wait, are you going to rip off the cellophane S from your shirt and throw it at me? All right.
Oh, hell no. I'm definitely not going to do that. But I will say the best thing that those Superman movies had was Richard Pryor.
Yes.
I will say that. And to wrap all of that up, I want to say this. I have faith in John and Dave because they took a character who was a badass lightsaber duelist and a mute to a character who at the end, at his death, I had respect for, and that was Maul. They made Maul a multifaceted character who they gave him a voice. That's hard to do for a character, to get a character as badass as Maul, to give him a voice. They gave him a voice, and Rebels, everything, everywhere. It's Clone Wars, Rebels, up until his end, which I'm not going to spoil that, even though it doesn't really matter at this point.
Yeah.
Even at his end, it was very cerebral.
The scene. So like we said, spoilers for Rebels, spoilers for Clone Wars. So just another heads up for that. But the scene that you're talking about, I was actually talking about earlier today with someone else when I was talking about the just Star Wars and Celebration and stuff like that. But one of my favorite scenes in all of Star Wars, anything, books, movies, television, film, comics, toys, the Christmas specials, everything, was that scene, that specific scene, Darth Maul and Obi-Wan Kenobi on Tatooine, like one of the greatest scenes in, like, it's in there's so much depth to that scene.
Oh yeah.
Like, so to set it up, because I actually didn't make a clip of that one. But it's Darth Maul goes to see Ben Kenobi on Tatooine, and my favorite part of it is when they line up to fight. Right, Darth Maul turns his lightsaber on. Kenobi starts off with his lightsaber like young Ben Kenobi. He's got the lightsaber pointed forward this way. He's got his hand out in front of him, and that's the young Ben Kenobi from the Clone Wars. He does that pose all the time. Then you could see Ben's face kind of like he thinks for a second, and then he brings the lightsaber in front of him and he does the Allen Guinness like I'm a Jedi Master pose. And then he thinks again and he goes, I can get Darth Maul. I'll end this quickly. And he goes, I'll trick him. And he goes into the Qui-Gon Jinn pose where he holds that's what you were doing before, where he holds the lightsaber on the side, and then the camera cuts to Maul, and Maul repositions himself and is like, all right, I'm going to get him just like I got Qui-Gon Jinn. And then,
such an homage to his master.
Yeah.
Such a foreshadowing to himself.
Okay.
What I say, Norman Gardner, Alan. I said Alan, didn't I? It's Alec. Yeah. I said Alan.
But that gives me the perfect opportunity to pitch that. In fact, Obi-Wan Kenobi is the greatest lightsaber swordsman in the Jedi.
I thought that was a fact.
That's a fact.
I thought that was a fact.
That's a fact.
No.
He's a master of Shoyu form or something like that.
He's the master of Form 3, which is defensive.
People think he's Yoda, right?
I assumed it
Mace.
was
Mace Windu is. Well, see, that's the thing.
Oh,
there's like, see, we're gonna get super crunchy now. There's 5 Star Wars forms. Yoda's the master of 2 of one of them. Obi-Wan's master of sword form 3. Mace Windu is, but see, like a lot of people say Mace Windu too because his form is really like attacky, like he was very offensive.
Okay. But let me say
form
this.
5.
Let me say this.
5 or 2.
Vibes of the Pad or something like that.
But let me
I'll look it up.
Tom, let me say this. As a practitioner of multiple martial forms, that is not a basis to make an argument on who is the best in a fight.
Oh no, yeah. Well, see, that's funny though.
I understand what you're saying. I get that, and I think that's the argument that people make sometimes for Yoda. And even
I don't make it for Yoda. No.
I think Palpatine is a better lightsaber
than
Yoda.
Films,
7. Yeah.
Even in the films, it's intimated that Yoda is the great kind of lightsaber master, right?
In the
Obi-Wan says to Anakin while they're in the speeder, if you would practice more, you might one day become as great a sword, as great with your lightsaber as Master Yoda is.
Yeah.
Which I think is another part of what makes Obi-Wan so great is that Obi-Wan is always downplaying his own skill level.
In the books and in the comics, though,
reflection of others. But if you look at what happens on screen, whether it's in the movies or in Clone Wars or in Rebels, in his own, I think they put the exclamation point on it. I didn't like how they ran his arc in the TV show Obi-Wan, but I think they put an exclamation point on the fact that Obi-Wan is the FAFO champion in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
Okay. There is no greater,
Rob, go ahead.
Master, in my humble opinion.
I could see Rob twitching in his seat.
From how he deals with Grievous to how he deals with Vader.
Rob's gonna hurt himself.
He's gonna pull something.
To how he deals with Maul. I think if they had switched up at the end of the prequels and he had gone to face Palpatine instead of Yoda, I think that whole thing would have turned out.
Now Jimmy's gonna hurt something.
I think Obi-Wan is clearly, without a doubt, when it comes to a lightsaber in his hand, period, the greatest lightsaber user in the Star Wars canon.
All right, Jimmy. Go ahead, Jimmy.
All right.
Gerald, I'll agree with you that Benjamin Lafayette Sisko is the best Star Trek captain. But your comment about Obi-Wan being the best lightsaber fight is off. He can't even beat Dooku. He had 2 tries. He couldn't even beat Dooku.
With Anakin.
With Anakin's help.
I think that was the problem. The problem was
Anakin was holding him back.
I would give him props for being one of the best lightsabers for the Jedi. But overall, Palpatine.
All right. So the only thing I want to say to that is the in the books and stuff, what they talk about is how Darth Vader ended up. I was going to say Darth Vader because how Darth Vader ends up mastering 3 different lightsaber forms. So that was the only thing, which goes to your point, Gerald, like how it's like, he takes a bit from multiple different martial arts essentially with the different forms. But speaking of,
so you talking about Vader? What Vader once Obi-Wan is ancient and old?
They're both old.
The way Obi-Wan mollywopped him at the end of Obi-Wan's season, he beat him like he stole something from Obi-Wan's mouth.
Yes,
he dragged him like he was light work.
But only until he didn't anymore, because right in the beginning there, Vader was whooping his ass. But then that's
the thing. Obi-Wan is one of those cats who, and listen, trust me, I know this. There are people as fighters who you are not going to get the best out of them.
Listen, Althor's taint supports me, and that's all that matters.
Until they are about to get beat, and that's when the best in them comes out.
Honestly, I would have said in that fight that that it wasn't Obi-Wan besting Darth Vader, but it was Anakin holding Darth Vader back in that scene. And actually, this is a great segue. So it's a great segue into another part of Celebration that I want to talk about. So we got to see, and I have a clip. It's like, let me see how long it is real quick. It's like 2 minutes and 50 seconds. I cut it down. It was like a 9-minute interview, but it's when Hayden Christensen comes out, and I spliced into it the scene that you're talking about, Gerald. So I just, that's why I want to put it up right now. So before I play it though, I want to preface it with one of the things that I really enjoyed about the Obi-Wan press junket that Ewan and Hayden did was there's and it's floating around somewhere. I couldn't find it when I was putting this clip together to put it in there. There's a clip of Ewan shouting at somebody when someone says something about Hayden. You can't hear what the guy says, but it's like, he's off camera. And Ewan says, "That's what George wanted." George direct like that. He's like, that's what he wanted. He told him to do that. Like, you can't blame Hayden for that. He's like, that's what George wanted, and that's what he says. So it was. I thought that was funny. And seeing Hayden come onto stage at Celebration and the emotional roller coaster he seems to go through, which we'll see in a second, was just.
Jimmy got his tissue.
Yeah, it was great, and I love to see it because, and I want to say this right now just to get it out of the way. I hate all the toxic Star Wars fans. So if that applies to anyone watching, y'all could just leave. I don't care. It's the same people with the book cloaks with the Wheel of Time fans. Like, I don't have space for none of that shit. So, but that being said, let's look at this clip real quick.
Our next guest finally made his way back to Star Wars after a nearly 20-year hiatus. He may be burnt to a crisp underneath his costume. But to us, he'll always be the sand-hating, moody teen from Tatooine. Straight from a poster in my locker in high school to this stage right now, this is where the fun begins! Give it up for Hayden Christensen!
Man, you guys sure know how to make a guy feel good. That was very nice, thank you. You're making me emotional. We think of them as different characters, and of course they have different names and they look much differently, but for me it is the same character. Of course there's... Appreciate you. In the performance though, there's a difference in the physicality, of course, and putting on the Darth Vader armor certainly very much informs the way you play the character, but emotionally it is just a continuation of Anakin. Yeah, it's a thrill every time you get to put it on and you put the helmet on. It's pretty awesome.
Now that we've seen your reunion battle with Obi-Wan, what was your favorite scene to shoot and why?
We had so much fun doing that flashback sequence and getting to swing a lightsaber with Ewan again was just, thrilling. But that last scene, the confrontation between Vader and Obi-Wan when he cracks his mask, that was one of the highlights of my acting career.
Anakin. Anakin's gone. I'm what remains.
That was awesome. But
that is that's also a callback to Rebels.
Yeah, when he fights Ahsoka.
Fight that Ahsoka had with Vader. That was the first time we saw that, where she clips him and you get that kind of part of his mask is cut off.
Yeah, and that's what when we were talking about before about how fleshing out and you mentioned about fleshing out the villains more. I think they did a much better job with that in Clone Wars, specifically with Darth Vader and Anakin, like and Ahsoka and that entire storyline, and that'll get us into the Ahsoka show. But it's Anakin in the Clone Wars, and I want to see what everyone thinks about this. Kind of realizes that the Jedi are wrong.
Yeah.
The Jedi, as they are in starting really in the prequel series, have been kind of not corrupted, but they're too dogmatic in their.
They're phoning it in. They're
a whole bunch of logical fallacies.
Yes, but it's that, but they're also trusting in themselves and in their own minds more than in the Force. So Dave Filoni, and I have a quote here from Dave Filoni, where he's talking about how here it is. So the Jedi in starting in the prequel series, so like from when we see like the Jedi Council and everything, it's more they're trying to the Jedi Council is trying to exert its will over the Jedi. Where Qui-Gon Jinn, and he says specifically Qui-Gon Jinn was more that of the Old Republic and the High Republic Jedi, where they believed and followed the living Force, which is something that Qui-Gon Jinn says often. It's why he doesn't listen to the Council. He does what the Force wants him to do. He does what the Force tells him to do.
Okay, this I'm gonna drop my credentials in here real quick. As a theologian and a philosopher, right? Movements become institutions.
Oh.
And very often when those movements become institutions, they lose the power of the initial impact. And so the Jedi by the time we see the Jedi in the prequels, they have become an institution. They are no longer a movement of Force users. They are an institution. And an institution has different exigencies. It has different priorities than a movement does.
Right.
And an institution ultimately is trying to maintain the institution.
Right.
Yeah, and they don't even follow what their own
movement. A movement is interested in a particular set of ideas and ideals.
Yeah, but they don't even follow what they say their ideas are. They that's the thing. But they say they're peacekeepers. That's what I'm trying to
say. That's what institutions do. Yeah. Institutions have the forward-facing ideals of the movement listed in the bulletin points.
Yeah.
But behind that, as an institution, it's really fundamentally focused on supporting and upholding the structures of the institution.
Right.
And that's where villains come from.
Exactly.
By the time you get to the prequels, they're an institution now.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes,
and that's why Qui-Gon stands out, because Qui-Gon is more of a movement Jedi than he is an institutionalist. And that's why one of my favorite characters in the entire Star Wars universe, probably my favorite character in the entire Star Wars universe, ultimately decides to leave the Jedi because she also sees the institution, because it was the institution that mistreated her, that didn't believe her, that threw her in jail, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And she take even her word for her innocence, because they were concerned about particularly with Yoda in there, if any one of those Jedi masters had searched their feelings, Yeah, come on, y'all. Talk to me now. Talk to me. In that moment where Ahsoka was standing in front of them, telling them she was innocent, if any of those great Jedi Masters had searched their feelings and used the Force in that moment, they would have been able to discern, yeah, she's telling the truth, and we need to back her, and we need to do what we need to do to find out who the real culprit is. Yeah. But they weren't interested in that. They were interested in the levers of power of an institution. This is how we do things.
Mace Windu even says they need it, like they kind of know she's innocent.
Yep.
But they kind of need a scapegoat, and the government, the Senate, has kind of chosen Ahsoka to place the blame on. But
that's institutional. You have movements, and movements when they gain power become institutions.
That's why Mace had to go.
Institutions, they often lose the fundamental principles upon which the movement was founded.
Yeah, though they are kind of hinting that we might get some more Sam L in some of the new stuff, that he might not be dead.
He better come back with a different attitude, because the institution had him. He was. I think he'll learn. I mean, Mace was militant. I mean, if people don't remember, I don't think a lot of people remember Clone Wars before the more recent Clone Wars, the
original ones that linked the two movies.
And to see Mace do battle against the those different in that field. That kid gives him the drink, kind of like a sports star. That was extremely commercial and extremely institutionalized. Yeah. It was like, look, you can be like, it was pretty much Uncle Sam Jackson.
Yep.
Pointing a finger, saying, "Join us. We'll teach you." That's why he didn't want to raise. That's why he didn't want to raise a kid. That's why he didn't want to train the kid.
Yep.
It's because he was too old. You're too old for us to indoctrinate you with our ideas. You know,
I mean,
you're too much. You'll be too much of a free thinker.
Right.
Yeah. Look through the Clone Wars. I mean, almost all of those masters were like rule followers to the degree
Generals.
that none of them
dogmatic. They were dogmatic in their
dogmatic.
thinking.
Exactly. None of them ever in the moment stopped and said, "Hold on, let me tap into the Force."
Yeah, let me listen to the Force. That was the whole thing.
What the right thing to do here is in this moment. None of them would do that. They were all like, "Here are the rules, and this is what the rules tell us we should do in this moment."
Gerald,
it's so frustrating to watch.
Gerald, you just made me realize something, Gerald. The heartbreak that Yoda had specifically after the younglings. I think at that moment he realized that exact thing.
Oh, yes.
We have screwed up. It wasn't just Anakin killing the younglings. This was our fault. We screwed up.
Yes,
he
Yoda
had been the longest living one there.
Right. He saw it happen. He saw it happen.
He saw the change. And you can see it. I'm thinking back now to him being in the council and how he felt like he wanted to speak out more, but he had been a victim of his own design. And then when he got Luke, that all changed.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
I want to pose this to Jimmy. I want to see what you think about this. So there was an interview a while back, and it goes right to what we're talking about right now. There was an interview a while back with Freddie Prinze Jr., who did the voice of Caleb Doom, aka Kanan Jarruk, Ezra's master in Rebels. Amazing, another amazing story arc, another amazing,
so good.
So good. And I really hope we get to see some of him in like flashbacks, maybe in a.
There's no way. There's no way.
Let me hope. Let me hope.
No. What I'm saying is, there's no way we're not going to see.
Okay. Don't crush my dream.
I'm so glad that they tore up that blaster / lightsaber piece of junk.
I thought that was cool, man. I thought that was cool. I thought that was really cool.
It was perfect. Perfect for Ezra. It was perfect.
Exactly. It was personal to Ezra.
That thing. I was like, every time he pulled it out, I hated it.
I loved it.
But what I was getting at was Freddie Prinze Jr. Was talking about how he and Dave would sit down and talk to George Lucas about the Force and writing the story and the characters and stuff like that. And one of the things he said, and Freddie Prinze Jr. was really funny about it. He was like, one of the things a lot of the fans don't know is that it's the Force that decides all this stuff. The Force is the one that decides all of these things. If the Force says this is going to happen, then this is what happens. Like the Force decides to do these things. So he's like, everything that's happened, the Force has decided to make happen. He's like, you might not like that explanation, but that's from George Lucas. He's like, that is what happened.
But are we going to listen to George Lucas on everything?
No.
That's the problem. That all that is predestination. That's all.
I don't like it. I don't like
theological predestination. It's terrible.
But wait, hold on. I posed it to Jimmy. I want to see what Jimmy thinks.
Oh yeah, Jimmy.
I think the Force is more of a guide, and then the individual interprets it and makes a decision based on it. Yeah. I don't think it tells you. I don't think it's predestination. It's like, this is what's about to happen.
Could happen.
What you decide sets your path.
So
and you follow that path.
But what I'm saying, Jimmy, is that the explanation Tom just gave that Lucas said, that's textbook predestination.
Right.
If the Force decides everything that happens,
what's the point?
That's predestination. The problem with that is a little thing called free will. You can't have both. You can't have. And I'm sorry, the theologian is peeking out right now.
But no, you're right.
You cannot have both predestination, everything is already determined, and free will at the same. One or the other is not true. You can't have both.
Yeah. So it's the same illusion that as a mom I use with my kids when they're like 3 and want to dress themselves. Like, here, you have 3 outfits to pick from. They think they've made a choice, but the reality is I made the choice that these are the acceptable outcomes.
Yeah. I have a question for Jimmy.
Yeah, go.
Jimmy.
Yes.
So would you agree that that's also the reason why Force visions aren't always followed or aren't always as clear as one would like them to be? Because of free will, because of that person's choice they have to make based on the glimpse of whatever they saw. Specifically, I'm talking about Ezra and Mace and the holocrons.
Yeah, it's basically whatever they saw. And the biggest example I can give you is the prophecy of the chosen one.
Yes.
They completely got that wrong.
Yeah.
They interpreted it wrong.
He did it. He brought balance to the Force.
He absolutely did. Like, y'all don't know what balance means?
I still believe that Obi-Wan
2 on
Kenobi,
one side, 2 on the other. We're balanced. We're good.
I still believe that Obi-Wan Kenobi was the balance. I really firmly believe that if it wasn't for Qui-Gon's Padawan and the ideas of Obi-Wan's, his background and him falling in love, which we never talk about very often, and his journey as
Another
a
great
Jedi.
Storyline.
Oh, it's phenomenal. His journey as a Jedi and the changes that he had to make, and the hiding he had, and everything that made him probably one of the greatest Jedi Masters, if not the greatest Jedi Master, was the one who really kind of brought balance to the Force, because he brought Luke and Leia together. He spoke to Luke after he died immediately. We have to go. It was him who showed Luke the example of ultimate sacrifice and basically kicking that institutionalization out the door.
So the thing that I like, that I'm hoping that they're going to go into more, and it looks like they are, according to what there was a Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau did a like the thing that we just saw with Dave Hayden Christensen on the stage. Filoni and Favreau did something similar to that, and then afterwards they went backstage and did about 4 interviews that I watched between yesterday and today, and they talked about specifically this timeline here. Let me pull up the timeline again, and how it is going to differ / define the story of the stories and how they move forward. So specifically the fall of the Jedi, the High Republic to the fall of the Jedi. So the High Republic, in between the High Republic and the fall of the Jedi, is the prequels. The fall of the Jedi is obviously Revenge of the Sith. the reign of the Empire, and the Age of the Rebellion leading into the New Republic are the original episodes 4, 5, 6. And then the New Republic leading into the First Order are 7, 8, 9. And 9 and beyond is in between the First Order and the New Jedi Order. So getting back to the stuff that we found out at Celebration, and on the vein of the living force and predestination, where the Jedi right, where the Jedi wrong, they said what they want to explore specifically is how the Jedi were wrong. The Jedi were in fact, I used it before, but Filoni is the one that said it over and over again. The Jedi were too dogmatic in the way they thought. They trusted in themselves as the Jedi Council in knowing best and not listening to the living force. And that is why the New Jedi Order isn't going to focus around specifically Luke's Jedi. Obviously, Luke is dead, but that is why they killed him, because he was the last Jedi. He was the last Jedi in the sense of the old Jedi Order. Yeah. Where first of all, I love the fact that we're getting Daisy Ridley back. So I just let me grab this picture of her that is just fucking, phenomenal. It's amazing. I love it. I love her face in this picture. She looks so happy. And behind her is Shireen, what's her name? Shireen Chinoy. She's the one that's going to be directing the film that she's going to star in. And the quote from that is it's set 15 years after the events of The Rise of Skywalker, where Rey is going to be building the New Jedi Order. And then another quote is, I've always been attracted to the hero's journey and the fact that the world needs so many heroes. So my thought here is, and I want to see what your guys' thought is, so specifically for the New Jedi Order and the Ahsoka show, I think we're going to have a crossover here. Not in the Ahsoka show, but do we think Ahsoka is going to make it through? And in the vein of the hero's journey, usually in a hero's journey, you have a teacher. So like, if you were to use Lord of the Rings, that would be Gandalf. If you were going to use The Wheel of Time, that would have been Moiraine. In the original Star Wars, the hero's journey, Luke was the hero, and Alec Guinness / I did it again. Obi-Wan was the teacher. Who do you think that teacher will be for Rey? And could it be Ahsoka?
I mean, I think that would be wonderful. I would love for them to figure out a way to tie in Ahsoka's journey and why, as we were talking about earlier, she left and turned.
Why she left the Jedi and made kind of her own thing.
And kind of bring that back around to kind of close that circle.
Yeah.
And using her relationship with Rey and both of their understandings of
and Ezra
of going back to movement Jedi as opposed to institutional Jedi. Yeah. I just hope that they're very clear about kind of the theology behind it, because again, you can't have both of those things operate at the same time.
Right.
And even if you say, well, this is part free will and part the predestination and free will don't work that way. You have either one or the other. Now you can have one masquerading as the other, but that's not you can't meld those two. You have to have one or the other. And the interesting thing about that's why I think you as a writer, you have to be careful about using prophecy and vision. I think you can use them well because they can serve certain kinds of purposes in the storytelling. But for you to say that a prophecy is concrete and definitely going to happen in this particular way, then once you start down that path, then you're moving away from free will of your characters to predestination. You can't have both of those. It's either one or the other. Now you can have one masquerading as the other. You can have one misunderstood as the other. But you can't have both of those operating at the same time. Either I, as an individual, have the capacity to choose what I'm going to do or not.
Well, I was going to say, it seems the key to having any prophecy is it has to be misinterpreted. Right.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like
always.
it's gotta be
or Ebony, the persons who created the prophecy had to have an agenda.
Right.
That they were using the
Elida.
prophecy in order to kind of short circuit other people's free will and move them in a particular direction.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then there's
that's what
always
that's what I mean by there are different ways for you
I'm
to
telling
use that.
Right.
There's always
three
the trope.
outfits.
Yeah. And then there's always the trope of the person who tries to make the prophecy not happen in turn makes the prophecy happen, which is kind of like what Anakin did. Like, I'm going to save Padme by learning how to save Padme. And through learning how to save Padme, I'm going to kill Padme. Like, that's.
Yeah.
And that's what, but see, Tom, that's what I'm talking. That's George Lucas.
Yeah, which is why I wanted to have a panel. Hold on, I wanted to have a panel for years. Jimmy can test this because I said it to him before. I wanted to have a panel for years that is titled "Why George Lucas is the Worst Thing That Happened to Star Wars."
But what I'm saying is that's sloppy theology.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's and as a storyteller, I think you have to understand what those things are, and then you can decide how you want to play with them. Because as Ebony was pointing out, there are a lot of different ways for you to slice it up and play with it and use those ideas for storytelling. But you have to understand fundamentally in your universe which one of those ideas is actually real.
Yeah.
And then you can do all the different kinds of
and then which ones are fallible and stuff like that.
If you decide that free will is what's happening in your universe, then you can play with ideas of people's ideas of predestination and how this group thinks predestination is real and this one doesn't. But you understand that free will is what's operating in your universe, or you can do that. Hot
take on that.
You have with someone like Lucas is someone who doesn't quite really understand how those.
He's not the greatest storyteller in the world. He's not the greatest storyteller in the world.
Kind of sloppily, kind of having one. Because, I have a vision and the vision leads me to do this. And okay, pick one, George.
I want to give a shout out real quick because we're picking on George Lucas a lot. And I want to say, yes, I will pick on him. And like that panel that I'm talking about is the title of that panel is just to get people in the room that are mad at me, because then they're, a passionate, you get a nice passionate discussion when that happens. Obviously, George Lucas is the reason we have Star Wars and all of the stuff most of the stuff that we love about it.
And Akira Kurosawa.
Exactly. So and Indiana Jones, fucking like there's we can go on, but the
Rob will tell you that there are two things I like to dunk on: Batman and George Lucas. Rob will tell you that I'm always here for Batman slander and dunking on George Lucas.
Yeah.
But it ain't very, as you were saying, Tom, it is very kind of confined.
Yeah. I mean, you could pick on any genius that has produced a great work.
Absolutely.
Be it a movie, a film, a book, a work of art, a statue, painting. You could pick something out that they did wrong. So, but George Lucas is a super easy target. Disney paid him $4 billion for Star Wars. So.
Except for Akira Kurosawa, you can't do this.
You're right.
But Tom, back to what you were saying, it's gonna be Bridger or Ahsoka.
Who's the teacher?
Who's the teacher? Yeah, okay. And I see it more being Ezra. I think that Ahsoka's gonna eventually die. Or
no, I hope not. I don't want to.
Listen, I think it's gotta happen.
Stand for it.
I know. I don't want it to happen.
I will not stand for it.
I don't want it to happen either. But if you think about her character,
where's the mute button, Tom?
Oh wait, hold on. I found it.
She's in him right now.
She is the one. She's the one that will not go for glory, but purely for the safety.
She'll do the right thing. She'll do the safety of others. Yeah.
Look,
to her own detriment too.
Yes. Tales gave us her story, and I think that Tales gave us the beginning of her ending.
Yeah.
And that was showing her that she has no fear of almost anything, but that's going to eventually put her in a situation where she's going to take out 1,000 soldiers and herself, just like Dune.
Yep. She'll make a sacrifice.
She's going to make that sacrifice. And Bridger is that new school.
Yeah. That's what I'm hoping to. That's one or the other. I mean, I want it to be Ahsoka only because I love her so much. Look, I love her so much.
I think the smarter, and you saw this in the what was it? Tales. What was the last animation? Not the Visions, but
Tales.
Tales of the Jedi.
I think my take is that you're seeing Ahsoka rise as one of the greater masters of the lightsaber.
When
she
I like what you did, Aaron. Sorry.
When she took out that Inquisitor without even a lightsaber in her own hand,
without blinking,
they foreshadowed that in Rebels.
Yep.
When she rescues Ezra and the rest of the crew from the two Inquisitors, and that moment where she turns her lightsaber off and kneels with her hands up.
But there we go, Gerald.
The Inquisitor tries to take her head off, and she catches the lightsaber between her hands. Like, that was a dunk. That was like, I'm so much better than you that I can turn my lightsaber off and still dunk on you.
Gerald,
she does the same thing in the Jedi Tales with that Inquisitor, and I think and let me put it this way: as a storyteller, I would take it in this direction. I would take it in the direction that she is a purer Jedi than any of the Jedi who trained her. That's the reason she walked away from the Jedi Order. Going back to our earlier conversation, was that she was more of a pure Jedi with more talent and more skill than the Jedi who were training her, because they were institutionalists.
Yeah. And
that what her walking away from them births is her ability to become this kind of precursor of this new Jedi
new order, yeah,
that Rey is going to inherit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the direction I would take it. I wouldn't martyr her. I think that's a waste of a character. Because I think Ahsoka is such a great character.
And Rosario Dawson, I just want to stare at her all day. So
I've got.
I think it would be a.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
It would be a waste to kill her off in that way when you could turn her into kind of this great sage.
Oh yeah,
who is the precursor of a return to the truer Jedi form, and that Rey becomes the inheritor of that. That's the direction I would go as a writer.
So I'll say two things about Ahsoka is, ever since the Clone Wars, where they had the father, the son, and the daughter, when the daughter died, the owl was always with Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. And my point about Rey, who's going to train Rey in the new Jedi Order, I don't think it's going to be Ahsoka, because in the Rise of the Skywalkers, when the voices of the Jedi past were talking to her to get up, you heard Ahsoka.
So she's dead.
So she's got to be a Force ghost at this point.
Does she though?
Yeah,
I don't. That's kind
all
of
the people. Yeah, I mean, all of the people you hear, all of the other people you hear are dead. All the other people you hear are dead.
We're talking about Star Wars writers.
If you haven't seen the body, then they're not dead.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And even then.
Because remember, there was that moment where Ahsoka was technically dead.
Yeah.
But we did a timey-wimey.
Yep.
Force.
Yeah, a wonky, timey-wimey force thing.
What they called in the Wheel of Time, the ways, force ways thing, where Ezra
they bail-fired it.
Back
they bail-fired
it. And they
bail-fired it.
This kind of previous history from happening and snatches her into the present.
While we're still on Ahsoka, I wanna play. It's a minute and 40 seconds. I got the trailer that they released at Celebration, so I want to put that up because I want to talk about a couple of other characters that we got in the trailer. So let's watch this together real quick, and then we'll talk about the some of the other characters that we got out of there.
Something's coming.
Something dark. I sense it.
This is a new beginning. For some, war. For others, power.
It's been a while. Things have changed. I started hearing whispers about Thrawn's return as heir to the Empire. We have to prepare for the worst. The Jedi fell a long time ago. There aren't many left.
Perhaps it is time to begin again.
So for my wait, hold on. For my Wheel of Time fans, we're a little sensitive about August dates because they've been promises us stuff since in last August for a long time. So, but I'm excited to see that we might be getting it soon. Like they say August, and I trust Disney because they got a lot more money.
It seems to me that, and if you listen to that, okay, first of all, the little thing was outcast, warrior, Jedi.
Which is
Rebel
Jedi, right? Her kind of, which kind of lays out her arc, right? And she said the Jet, basically in the trailer, she says the Jedi are over, and the android is like, well, maybe we should start it. Maybe it's time to start again, right? So I think Rey is going to be the inheritor of, not the starter of the new Jedi Order. I think Ahsoka is the beginning of the new Jedi Order, and Rey becomes kind of the inheritor of that.
She has the text. Rey should have. She's going to teach out of a book, right?
They should have burned that text.
I mean, Yoda tried.
They should have left it burnt. I don't know what that was. I have issues with that for another day. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
About that later.
But listen, I love Ahsoka as a character. I get goosebumps. I've seen that trailer maybe 4 times, and I get goosebumps
every time.
Every time I
love her. Favorite.
Easily my favorite.
100%. Easily my favorite.
I don't know if you could see her really right now. Hold on, let me see if we got. I want to see something. I don't know if you can see her over my shoulder right here. Yeah, you kind of see her there. She's over my shoulder right there. She's up on the thing in front of the darksaber next to Bo-Katan's helmet.
I want to throw a shout out to Mrs. Inosato. That was Dan Inosato's daughter, who plays the warlord who she fights in Mando season 2.
Yes.
And her father was trained by Bruce Lee. She's a legit martial artist. And to see her again really brought joy to me. And yeah, she Tano is like she's the star, the Skywalker killer when it comes to Jedi. That is the one. I'm
glad that we are now finally, well,
no, yeah,
we kind of sort of past Skywalker because they gave Rey
the
Skywalker last name,
which was weird.
I wish they hadn't done.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah,
yeah. I really wish they had stuck with Rey being basically quote unquote a nobody.
Nobody, right?
I wish they stuck with that too. Yeah,
that was all dynastic family.
Right.
Because that democratizes the Force.
It did.
Right.
Yeah, and that was all. internal fighting that Disney
open and available to anybody, not just a Palpatine or a Skywalker.
J.J. Abrams, Bob Chapek, Kathleen Kennedy, that was all internal fighting at Disney about how, the story of the movies and the overall arcing Skywalker saga and stuff like that, about, basically, the first movie, The Force Awakens, sets up it sets up a story, and then Rian Johnson comes in and just dismantles everything that happened in that movie and sets up another story. And then J.J. Abrams comes back again and dismantles everything that Rian Johnson did and starts another new story. And
I got an ice headache thinking about it.
I know.
I think you want to say something.
Force Awakens was a great movie. If they had followed through on the seeds they planted in Force Awakens, I think the trilogy would have been much better served than the mess that you just described that took place.
And we would have finally saw another Black Jedi.
But again, I think ultimately
they did my man John Boyega wrong.
I'm glad we are beyond kind of, at least informally, the Skywalker, quote unquote Skywalker era. We can kind of move into, because the Star Wars universe is so broad. It's like that running joke people have, like, why do we keep going back to Tatooine? Like, there's so much other stuff out there that we could explore as an audience that I hope that they kind of take advantage of.
We are. And John and Dave, we trust. We're getting there.
I trust John and Dave immensely. Trust them. And I got some quotes from some of their interviews that I wanted to point out, because it's on the vein of what we were just talking about. Jimmy, I saw you were twitching in your seat there. Did you want to say something real quick?
I was just going to say orange lightsabers. What does that mean?
No, so before I get into their quotes, actually, that brings us to the end of that trailer. We see David Tennant, and we did get confirmation at Celebration. David Tennant voiced, I forgot the name of this robot already. I had it written down and it's gone already, but whatever. So that robot is the robot in Clone Wars, and I think he makes an appearance, or they talk about him, or in a flashback in Rebels as well. He helps the younglings in choosing their kyber crystals and building their lightsabers. There's a really cool scene where there's a Wookiee Jedi, and it kind of feels like Ollivander's shop in Harry Potter.
Yeah,
where he's like, kind of the lightsaber chooses you.
Yeah,
and the Wookiees, like he says something in Shiri-Wook, and he's like, wood is an interesting choice for a lightsaber, and then he starts going to pull draws out looking for like a special kind of wood or whatever.
Yeah,
but
Filoni said that wasn't an accident. He said that was intentional.
Yes,
that the orange, that the red.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
to more of the orange.
Yep.
He said
it changed
that was on purpose.
And
the youngling has a youngling braid. If you go back and look, with the other orange lightsaber, she has a youngling braid hanging off if she comes into the room in that clip.
Yes.
So that's interesting.
So they set new canon on lightsaber crystals and the way the colors and the way they work toward each individual. So one is that the lightsaber crystals are defined by the Jedi and how they interact with the Force. And that's why you get the colors. So that's why Jedi Consulars, Jedi Guardians, they have blue, they have green. But the Ahsoka's sabers specifically, because she started shying away from the Jedi and becoming more neutral, they turned white. Like her sabers turn white. And then on the other side, this was the thing I was actually I didn't like about it at first. And then the more I talked about it, the more I kind of liked it, was the idea that the Sith lightsabers are red because the kyber crystals are a product of the neutral Force, and to get them to bend to the will of the dark side, they have to bleed them, and they turn red, so they have to basically perform like a ritual with the dark side of the Force to bind the lightsabers to their will, so that the crystals will listen to them, kind of like a Harry Potter wand almost. Which I hate to give that any promotion, but it's very similar.
They also mentioned that the Sith thought that that kyber crystals were inferior and they could make better ones in lab.
The synthetic ones, yeah.
The orange crystals, there's a bit of a thing where they're not actually kyber crystals, they're a different type of crystal. And that they're orange because of just the nature of that particular crystal. And if that's the case with Shin and Baylor, then we have two dark Jedi that are loyal to Thrawn for a different reason.
Yeah.
And I can't
figure
that out. Well, I want to know now.
They're intimating that they aren't traditional dark side Sith. They aren't Sith.
Yeah, dark Jedi.
They're dark Jedi. There's something in between Jedi and Sith.
Yeah, and something a little different. That's so Filoni talked about that. So getting back to before we did the Ahsoka thing, Filoni talked about that specifically in the interview. So one of the quotes was that to follow the rule of two, there were only ever two true Sith, but those weren't the only dark Force users or dark Jedi, and that's where come in the Inquisitors, the dark Jedi that we are going to meet in the Ahsoka show. But one of the things he talked about was most importantly the Acolyte, which we haven't spoken about at all yet. I'm really excited about the Acolyte. So the Acolyte is set 100 years before A New Hope, and it has to do with a Padawan who's played by Amanda Stenberg. What was she in? She was in a bunch of stuff, but she's great. Yes, and she ends up. She plays Aura something in the show, and basically she goes from the Dark Jedi back and forth, and her storyline is going to be interesting. Like the path that she takes, and they're going to kind of tie the Acolyte with Ahsoka with the New Jedi Order. The way they're going to go with that.
Isn't Carrie-Ann Moss also?
Yes,
there as well, and
she is a Jedi.
Trinity
is a Jedi.
Trinity is a Jedi.
Yeah, is Jedi, and so by proxy, Keanu, if you're listening, and you happen to watch the
can do
show
whatever
right
he
now,
wants.
That man is
get the hell on over here.
For real, just
I mean, Vizsla,
Darth Revan. Okay, he is Revan. He would be the perfect Revan. He even looks like him.
I love those deep fakes of pictures of Revan with Keanu's head on it.
Oh yeah, I love it. But if they want to do the Mandalorian Wars and make him Vizsla, I'm okay with that as well.
Oh, okay, Vizsla, yeah, all right.
Yeah, I would be okay with that as well. But Revan is what they are wanting to go with.
So y'all realize that he is so nice. You just have to ask him.
Right,
I know he would do it.
If they don't go with him, I wouldn't mind them doing Idris Elba as Revan. That would also
wouldn't
be
mind him
an
either.
Excellent choice. He would be a perfect pick for it. He would also be my perfect pick for Beast and X-Men, but that's another story.
We'll talk about X-Men another episode.
That's another episode. That's another thing. That's another thing. But those two actors are my top actors.
My hope is to see some stories done in the distant beginning.
Yes.
And that's one. So that's they are going to do that. So they're going to do, and that brings me to another. We're kind of moving. We moved backwards and from the New Order to Ahsoka to this, which is perfect. It's almost like we planned it, but we didn't really. But I have everything set up for it. So let me get that picture of the timeline again. There it is. So they're going to do the Dawn of the Jedi. That's pre-Old Republic.
Yeah.
So
that's what I would be interested in seeing. Some of those kinds of stories.
Yeah. And that's James Mangold is the one that's going to be doing that. So he directed and wrote the new Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny. He directed and wrote the Logan movie, which was fantastic, easily one of the best X-Men movies yet. Though check in the con section was he also directed the Wolverine. So yeah, but he was executive producer and co-wrote Ford vs. Ferrari and the Greatest Showman, which are I didn't think I was gonna like Ford vs. Ferrari. I was like, who gives a crap about this fucking nonsense? And then I watched it. I was like, damn, that was a good movie.
Yeah,
that was a pretty good movie.
I'll say a prayer for him because Lucasfilms does not have a good track record with talented directors.
True.
So.
And I already, and that's what Jimmy, man, you set me up perfectly. That's the perfect segue into this clip. I already foresee that happening. So let's watch this clip. Let's watch this clip real quick.
Hearing it takes place 25,000 years before Episode 4, and it's about, I mean, what I said. It's about the discovery of the Force. It's a kind of. I told Kathy I wanted to make a kind of Bible movie, a kind of 10 Commandments of Star Wars, of kind of a Cecil B. DeMille film about the arrival of the Force. And so that's what I've been pecking away at when between press events and but that's kind of the idea, is just kind of a movie that both connects to the world we know, but is also far enough away from it that I think there's a lot of opportunities to tell a story freely also, and not be so incredibly tied in knots by all the different story strands that have already been set in place.
I see it, Tom.
You see it, right? You can see it already, man. He said incredibly tied in knots by the stories are in place. I told Kathy, like, it.
Did you mention Swamp Thing? Did you mention that he's writing Swamp Thing?
Oh, I forgot. No, I had that. He's writing Swamp Thing,
which, by the way, is like one of my favorite DC characters ever. He's writing Swamp Thing.
I'm excited.
He's going to be busy. So, Tom, that might happen. Although Kathleen, for all of her talents, Amblin Entertainment, for all of her talents, has been talented enough to back away and allow John and Dave to do what they need to do, except for when it came to those speeder bikes and that bike game.
Well,
I will never forgive them for that mod stuff. Robert Rodriguez.
There was a story to that about Favreau and Benoni with Kennedy.
Let's hear. Can we hear that song?
I don't know. What do you got?
So apparently Favreau was very frustrated working on Mandalorian season 2 because of Kathleen Kennedy and threatened to leave. And the CEO at the time says, "What can I do to get you to stop?" He says, "Get Kathy out of my office.
I saw
Let me do season 3 my way." And so I've heard that she has to have a movie out by the December 2025. Or she's
so I don't know enough about Kathleen Kennedy to have an opinion there. Like, I don't know if it's like internal misogyny that they just don't like her because she's a woman in charge, or she really is being meddlesome and her ideas are bad. Like, I'm not sure.
It could be a little both.
Yeah, I guess.
Lord and Taylor was doing what? Solo? And she fired them, and then they go on to make an Academy Award-winning movie? Come on.
And
I did love Solo, though. I love Solo.
But word is that they were making the most ludicrous tongue-in-cheek, like it wasn't serious at all.
Yeah, they said it was almost like a slapstick comedy. They said it was.
Well, that wouldn't have been right.
I don't know. I
don't know either. I know exactly what you're saying, though, Jimmy.
Right. The thing that gets me is like they talk about these 3 new movies. Well, what about Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron that they announced a couple of years ago that they dropped?
Actually, Jimmy, after Wonder Woman 1984,
yep, there it is.
I agreed with that call.
I was going to mention it.
Like, Wonder Woman was so good.
It was so bad.
Yes, the first one was amazing.
The first one was amazing. I'll watch it over and over again.
Then she dumped all over the first movie she made. Like,
so bad.
1984 was so bad.
Legit. I've gotten up and walked
Yeah.
out of one movie in my life, and that was Avatar: The Last Airbender. And I almost got up out of Wonder Woman 1984.
Avatar: The Last Airbender, another episode.
And then I got on Facebook and I typed in. I remember the quote. I typed in, "Is it me?" Question mark. That's all I wrote. That is all I wrote, and everybody jumped in the comments. And they were like, "Wonder Woman 1984." I was like, "Yes!" Like,
well, all right. So speaking of Kathleen Kennedy, though, Kathleen Kennedy also did one of these interviews afterwards, and one of the things I want to point out that she said was that they are not just tossing around these ideas. So the idea of the New Jedi Order, the idea of the Dawn of the Jedi, and the Dave Filoni movie. So there's 3 movies in the works, and it's those 3. Dave Filoni, which is kind of the present. He said it. Dave Filoni's pitch for the movie was the movie takes place after the events of the Return of the Jedi, before the Force Awakens. It will be close and interconnected story. It will interconnect the stories told in The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, and other New Republic Disney Plus series yet to be announced.
He's wrapping those up, right? He's tying those up, right?
I'll say this one last thing, real quick, because the hour is late. I think there is a happy medium between director freedom and studio involvement.
Facts.
Now
I think a wide swing either way is a mistake.
Yes.
And I think you can see that in Netflix.
Yes.
Because Netflix basically writes a check and lets creatives do whatever they want. And sometimes that means a great product, and sometimes it means something awful.
Garbage.
Yes.
Right?
100%.
And so that I don't think that's the proper model. I think if you look at the progression of the MCU and Kevin Feige, I think you get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Because if you look back at what happened, Marvel was from the first, like from Iron Man on, Marvel was slowly kind of making its way up in terms of movie profit, and then it plateaued. Plateaued because it was very well understood that Feige, if you came in to direct the movie, Feige had a basic kind of bullet point, like this is the structure that you have to fit into for these origin stories, right? And I think Doctor Strange was where it plateaued.
Yeah.
And they came to realize, okay, that's not working anymore. And Feige immediately shifted to finding young, energetic, innovative directors and letting them kind of pursue their vision with the project with a little bit of oversight.
Yeah,
like
just to make sure that it doesn't.
They didn't have free reign to do whatever they wanted to do.
To make sure that episode 7, 8, 9 doesn't happen.
Well, the MCU kind of pulled back the reins a bit and kind of gave directors a little bit of their head with some guidance to let them do what they wanted to do. And I think that that's probably the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
So my question would be, where does Kathleen Kennedy fall in that? Is she like, she's obviously not like Netflix to write a check and let people do whatever they want to do. Maybe she's a little too far to the other end to have a heavy hand and kind of suppress what creatives are trying to do. What you have to be is somewhere, I think, in the
middle
medium, where you have talented folk, you give them their head to kind of do what they want to do, but then you also have the wherewithal to kind of pull them in here and there where you need to. So that would be my question about that situation.
So I will say, Gerald, that is the exact same way you raise teenagers.
Oh
yeah,
that is the same model you use.
What it seems. So the article that Jimmy was talking about Kathleen Kennedy and Favreau, it was Bob Iger, the new incoming ex-CEO of Disney after they booted Chapek, after the board booted Chapek out, because Chapek was the one that kind of had a lot of. He was bad. Like he was
Who was the one that wouldn't allow Black Panther to be greenlit?
Chapek.
Yep.
Okay, well then.
So Bob Chapek was just a bad, like he was a business-oriented CEO with a very old style of thinking. And when Bob Iger took over, he went to Favreau and said, "What do you want?" And he's the one that did that with Favreau. So, but I think Iger will be a good balance to that. If Kathleen is one of the types of studio heads that is like too heavy-handed, Bob Iger will be the balancing hand to that.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think she's doing a better job now with what I saw at Celebration with James Mangold, Dave Filoni, and the Charmin Chinoy stuff with Daisy Ridley. I hope that it looks like they're on the right track with that. My only hope is that Favreau, Filoni, Kennedy, and Iger can get John Boyega back. I know he said he would never come back.
Nah,
But
I mean, they did him dirty.
listen, man,
did him
Disney's
dirty.
got enough money. If Disney cuts a big enough check and they promise him that they won't do him dirty again in
They have to give
writing,
him they have to give him a
writing.
lightsaber. They would have to give
I
him
was
a
gonna
lightsaber.
say,
absolutely.
is he gonna have a
He
lightsaber?
needs
He
to be a
better.
Jedi.
He
Yeah,
needs to be a
yeah.
Jedi.
They
Harrison-
have
absolutely.
to make him a Jedi to make that right. Ryan and I
Absolutely.
talked about this. I don't have anything against Daisy. She wasn't in control of any of that. Or
Right.
Any of them.
what's his name?
Kylo.
John.
I blame everything. I blame everything on Kathleen Kennedy
what's his
Chapman.
dude's name? He played
Uh,
Kylo.
Yo, you talking about
Adam Driver.
Adam
Driver.
Driver?
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't have anything against Adam or any of that. They were doing the job.
Excellent actor.
They weren't in charge of story. They didn't have any pull to do any of that.
Yeah.
I blame J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson, and whoever else was in charge of story over there, because Force Awakens set up a particular story. Even with the poster,
Yep.
there
you go.
and the trailer, they gave us a particular idea of the story that we were supposed to get.
Yes.
Then they immediately reneged on all of that with
Yes, they
John
did.
Boyega's character and kind of turned him into a third wheel. Rob knows.
was awful.
Rob saw me post about this, that because of of what we thought he was going to be, and I think that was at least part of the reason why John walked away with a sour taste in his mouth, and I don't blame him.
You don't blame him.
But I don't blame Ray. I'm happy to see her back. Daisy, I'm happy to see her back and her character Ray back for a new movie. And
Here's the difference between the two posters, by the way.
Yep.
Yeah.
See, look at that.
Ridiculousness.
They would have to make him a Jedi. They would have to. Not force sensitive.
Nope.
Not a garbage man.
Oh my God.
Come on, a guard. He was a garbage man. I was so hot. I had heat coming off the top of my head. I was so mad.
He was a goofball
but he
who
would
didn't know
have
how the Force worked.
They would have to write him a big fat check, give him an apology, and make him a Jedi, and fix the fact that you had your heroine fall for the toxic fanboy who had abused her, at least emotionally, and tried to abuse her physically.
Right.
Like, that's some terrible shit. Like, why would you? And then that's who you have her fall for at the end and kiss? The
That's
dude
ridiculous.
who emotionally and physically abused her. Like, what message are you promoting?
Sending
Like,
to young girls, yeah.
yeah, I was so mad behind
And boys.
Yeah.
I was so mad behind that.
Oh,
They
no,
but
they
again,
also need to
I
cut
don't-
a fat
I don't-
check for.
I don't blame Adam Driver for that. He was
No.
playing a part.
Yes.
That was his job.
He had no say in that. He had no
Right.
say.
He wasn't in control of any of
No.
that. But yeah, they did John Boyega dirty, and so
Yeah. And though they also
have to
did
go a long way to kind of make up for that.
Kelly Marie Tran.
Yeah.
Oh, they did her bad. I feel so bad for her.
Yeah, the
Because
fandom
she's a
did her
good
bad.
she's a good actor.
Yeah, that's a perfect example of the toxic freaking Star Wars fans that I will chase out of any room that I'm in. So
It was
Well, I
awful.
mean, Ahmed Best got the same treatment playing Jar Jar, and
Yeah.
he got
And-
redeemed
man.
finally.
Oh,
he
so-
finally
so-
got redeemed.
they said they're gonna that was another thing. They said they're gonna use him in. Oh, what's up, Rob?
I have not. I'm behind.
You haven't seen. You haven't. I haven't
Yeah.
seen it yet either, Rob. I
So,
know he's
okay.
in there, but I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
what
I've been
happens.
I've been told that
Yeah.
he's been thrown
He's
in
been
there, but I
redeemed.
don't
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
where.
Yeah.
No, it's
Okay.
well, Ahmed Best in the Disney parks. They used Ahmed Best did the Jedi Training Academy. So
Okay, sweet.
he was one of the actors that did that.
Awesome.
Like in person out in the parks.
Awesome.
So they took his character that he played in the Jedi Training Academy in the parks and put him in the new. He's gonna his Jedi that he played is going to be appearing in some of
But
the
Rob
new
hasn't
stuff.
seen the episode. But Rob just hasn't seen the episode.
No,
I haven't
I'm not.
seen it
I'm,
either. Yeah.
Yeah,
but see,
yeah.
I wasn't gonna say that he was in any
Yeah, yeah.
episodes.
But I was hoping,
Oh, no,
I was hoping that they were going to use his character.
They're going to use him in a movie.
places.
They are.
They are?
They said
Yes.
that. Yes, they said that
Thank you.
his character is going to be appearing in some of the stuff that has to do with the new Jedi Order.
Yes,
Great.
very awesome.
Great.
Very
Great.
awesome.
'Cause
Not the new Jedi Order. Dave
again,
Filoni's
he was
movie.
He
Filoni's
was an
movie.
actor.
Perfect.
He was an actor doing a job, and he didn't
Yes.
deserve
The same thing with the kid. The kid that played
vitriol that he
Anakin.
got.
Jake Floyd.
Yeah.
Jake
Yeah.
Floyd.
Yeah, man.
he didn't deserve it.
They killed that
Yeah,
man. That
they-
kid that he almost died.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was depressed severely. I mean,
Mark Hamill saved him. Mark Hamill bailed him out of jail several times.
Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill saved
Mark
him.
Hamill
Of
is a
course.
damn saint.
He is.
Mark Hamill is multi-talented. He didn't give enough credit. And by the way, shout out to Mark Hamill in
I
the
love him.
Guyver first movie. I remember you. You really did a good job in that movie. Thank you so much. I love you.
I'm glad. But I did. You may have. Those of you, some of y'all may have seen my post on Facebook where I was like, I hope that his appearance isn't just this one little shot, because he deserves to have a kind of a. If you're gonna bring him back, then bring him back.
Bring him back.
They did say they were going to use his
like
Jedi
other stuff.
Yeah, they're going to use his Jedi in other stuff. They did say that, so that's good.
If you notice, it got dark behind me here because we started talking about how bad they did Finn. And, I instantly went directly.
You're embracing your anger.
Let me look at my microphone.
It's red now.
Directly, everything directly just went to the dark side.
Yeah.
That's it.
So that's pretty much. I mean, that's pretty much everything they talked about at Celebration in the form of a film, except for the Skeleton Crew, which the only information we got on that was no release date or cast or anything really. But they said the pitch for the show was, and we can, I guess we'll wrap up here because we're moving into the 2 hours. When John Watson and Chris Ford pitched the show, which was a movie that starts off from the perspective of what it's like for ordinary people in the suburbs of the Star Wars galaxy, and then launch them into an adventure.
Wow.
He said that's the premise of the Skeleton Crew film. That
go watch the Visions. Go watch Visions.
So good.
Go watch Visions 2 trailer.
Yes.
The animation series.
Yeah, that looks good.
Watch that
I'm
trailer
amped for
on
that.
YouTube.
Also, watch the trailer for Young Jedi Adventures. You're gonna love hearing Yoda's voice again, and prepare for your small children so we can indoctrinate them into our universe. And
Resistance.
Resistance
is also a really good.
Resistance is phenomenal. Yes.
I mean, I loved it, but it is a children's show.
Yeah.
Like where Clone Wars is a cartoon. This is a children's cartoon, like a young child's cartoon. But it's really good. It was a good.
Yes.
Yeah.
But hey, listen, you will get chills watching the Visions 2 series.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Trailer.
Yeah.
I mean,
and then,
styles of animation and some of the hints of the characters.
Gorgeous.
And Jimmy,
really good.
Jimmy, thank you for pointing that out. They did also say Andor season 2.
Yes, they did. Yes.
And Kathleen Kennedy said Rosario Dawson said that they depending on the fan response to the Ahsoka show, they're open to a season 2 of Ahsoka as well.
They're gonna do a season 2, so they're gonna do. They better be filming it right now because it's happening. It's happening. We're gonna love this.
All right. So we're gonna be able to see Ginny and Gerald. Most of us that are here now probably see him at JordanCon, and Ebony, obviously, and myself, and a bunch of the other Dragon Mount crew.
I have a room this year. I'm not driving back and forth to the house. So I will be available for multiple
drinks.
Shenanigans.
I was gonna say, so you're drinking then. You're hardcore drinking this year. That's
BarCon is gonna be off the hook.
Because you're like, that's it. I'm just gonna drink the whole weekend. Just point me in the direction of the elevator, and I'll be on my floor.
Just look for the best. Just look for the best dressed man in the lobby. That'll be Gerald.
Yeah.
So the upstairs bar is open now, Gerald. So you don't have to go all the way down those stairs. We're also going to have a cash bar right by the Friday night for the dance and on Saturday, and then for the yearly brawl on Friday. So,
oh wow!
Well, if we're going to have an open bar for the dance, that is going to be prime people watching for me because I enjoy watching a whole bunch of introverts pretending to be extroverts dancing. That is entertainment for me. I enjoy it.
I will be dancing my head off, so don't worry.
I'll be trying to if my knees hold up.
Well, I'll be drunk, so I won't feel it. It's fine. Drink responsibly, everybody.
Yes.
So next week we are not starting The Last of Us, so we will be having another show next week. But next week we will have a lot of new guests from JordanCon. We'll have possibly some of the track directors. We're going to talk about some of the panels that are going to be coming up. We'll see. We're still working out the details with the communications team, but we'll get something posted on the social medias and stuff like that soon. I'm terrible at promoting stuff, but yeah, we'll get it listed out there soon. And Rob, what's something that you got coming up that we could check out? I know, Gerald, obviously we've got books and we got JordanCon coming up. Gerald's going to be on 50 panels.
I am writing until my fingers bleed continuously and trying to mentally prepare for the con crash that's going to happen after Multiverse.
Yes, Multiverse Con, another great convention. If anyone's in the Southeast, check it out.
I will be at JordanCon in Force Ghost.
Yeah, we're all going to have a space where put our arms here, and then we're gonna Photoshop Rob in. So
I'll take Rob's headshot that he sent me for the guest thing. I'll put it on a piece of paper and we'll walk around.
I was gonna say we just need the faces and the sticks. I will hand them out at the new member services table.
Well, no, we'll put them in the photo booth area so people can take pictures.
That is absolutely what we're going to do. That's it.
All right.
That's what we're doing.
So, chat, tell us what we missed. Tell us what we didn't talk about, and tell us what you want to hear. If you have any questions for anyone at JordanCon, shoot them our way, and we'll ask them in next week's episode, and we'll catch you all later.
Bye.
It's fun.
Peace.